Back on February 12th of this year, I uploaded a video talking about the Miami Heat and why other teams in the East need to start taking them seriously. And today, I want to follow that video up and talk about the Heat once again, because ever since that point, this Heat team has just gotten better, and they truly look like a top-level team and maybe even a true title contender. What's up, guys? SCJ here, and if you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to give it a like as it helps out a lot. And if you're new to the channel and or enjoy the NBA, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. As of right now, the Miami Heat are currently riding a 4-game winning streak, and you can very well argue that they should be riding an 11-game winning streak, as they have only lost one of their last 11 games, and that loss, which was against the Atlanta Hawks, came without Jimmy Butler, as he missed said game due to a right knee inflammation. If you want to go back even further than that, though, this Heat streak is even more impressive when you see the fact that this team has only lost 5 of their last 20 games, which is of course very impressive and a positive thing to see if you're a Miami Heat fan. If you're not an avid NBA fan and you're just a casual fan that watches occasionally, those numbers are probably something you're expecting to see, as the Heat were last year's NBA Eastern Conference champions and made it to the 2020 NBA Finals. But the Heat had a very rough start to this season, as they had many players miss games due to either the NBA's health and safety protocols or injuries. The team's best player, Jimmy Butler, was one of those players who missed multiple games, and that was due to testing positive for COVID, which meant that he would be out until he tested negative for the virus, and that meant that he ended up missing 10 games for the Miami Heat. During that 10-game stretch, the Heat only ended up getting 2 wins, so they had a record of 2-8 over those 10 games, which of course is not good at all. Ever since Jimmy Bucket's return, though, things have been totally different, and it's been a totally different story for this Miami Heat team. The Miami Heat held a record of 6-12 when Jimmy Butler returned after dealing with COVID. One of their biggest issues was not only that they were missing Jimmy and his scoring and contributions on offense, but they also struggled mightily on defense, as they held the 22nd ranked defense in the league at the time. Over the 21 games ever since Butler has returned, though, the Heat have held a record of 21-6, and all of a sudden their defense has actually been the best in the entire league over this stretch, and this stat that you're seeing here was prior to last night's game, and the Heat have now passed the LA Lakers for the best defensive rating over the past 21 games. Not only has Jimmy's leadership and defense brought a whole new layer and new level to this Heat team, but he's been very good on offense as well. Jimmy's averaged 23.2 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 8.8 assists over these past 21 games. Then going back to how great his defense has been, Butler has also averaged 2.2 steals per game over this stretch, which means he's averaged the most steals per game of any player over their last 21 games, which is absolutely impressive. If the Heat end up finishing with a top 2 or maybe even a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, with Joel Embiid now out due to an injury, I think we could very well see a strong case for Jimmy Butler to be a legit MVP candidate. And that comes even after he wasn't named the 2021 NBA All-Star. This team currently holds the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. They've had the 3rd best record in the entire league since Butler's returned, and they are tied with the Brooklyn Nets for the 2nd most wins over that stretch as well, which is impressive. They've also beaten teams such as the NBA's best team as of right now, the Utah Jazz, and even though it was without Anthony Davis, they did also beat LeBron James and the LA Lakers as well. Safe to say this team has what it takes to rise to the occasion. In terms of just how great this team is defensively, since I've talked about it so much, let's finally take a look at their defensive stats as a team over the last 21 games. Like mentioned before, they have had the best defensive rating out of any other team in the league. In terms of their opponent's scoring, they're allowing the 4th lowest amount of points scored off of turnovers. They just narrowly miss being a top 10 team in terms of opponent's second chance points by 0.2, as they hold the 11th spot ranking in that regard. This team has also been tremendous in guarding their opponents off the fast break, as the Heat currently have allowed the lowest amount of fast break points scored ever since Butler has returned. And finally, in terms of opponents' points scored in the paint, the Heat have also held the top and best ranking in that regard, as they hold the number 1 spot. Safe to say they have been very good on defense lately. In terms of their opponents' traditional stats now, the Heat of course have also been impressive in their last 21 games in that regard. The team has allowed the fewest amount of field goals to be made by their opponents, as well as holding their opponents to the worst field goal percentage in the entire NBA. With how important the three-point shot is in today's game, I'm sure you'll be happy to know, if you're a Heat fan, that they have held their opponents to the 5th worst three-point percentage of any teams in the entire league over their past 21 games. One of the other reasons their opponents are struggling to score against them is their opponents are getting the 3rd lowest amount of free throw attempts in the league per game when they face the Miami Heat. so the Heat are doing a great job of making sure not to foul their opponents while also playing great defense. Another showing of how great this Heat team's defense is the fact that they have caused their opponents to average the 5th highest amount of turnovers, and they're only 0.2 turnovers away from causing their opponents to turn the ball over the 2nd most amount of times in the entire league. And last but certainly not least, the Heat have not only allowed their opponents to score the lowest amount of points off a fast break as well as points in the paint, but also just the lowest amount of points per game ever since Jimmy Butler has returned, as their opponents have averaged 103.8 points per game over this stretch, and nearly 3 points less than the second best team in that regard, the New York Knicks. Safe to say this Heat team has come to play, and with how important offense is in today's NBA, the Heat will simply be able to beat their opponents with just how great and how grueling their defense is. Over their last 21 games, or ever since Jimmy Butler returned 21 games ago, the Heat have averaged the 6th lowest amount of points per game and have shot the ball at the 8th lowest field goal percentage over this stretch. However, when their defense is so great and as good as it is, it crazily hasn't seemed to affect them whatsoever. One stat you could look at to see that is one that my subscribers should know I love to look at, which is RPI, or Relative Percent Index. This shows you just how great a team truly is by averaging together 25% of a team's winning percentage, 50% of their opponent's average winning percentage, and 25% of their opponent's average winning percentage. In the RPI rankings for not just the last 21 games, but the entire season, the team has the 12th highest RPI in the whole league, and that comes even with Jimmy Butler missing 14 of the team's 39 games this season. In terms of their strength of schedule overall in the season, while they are tied for the 14th place ranking, and that's not necessarily anything to look at, 3 of the other 4 teams that they're currently tied with, the Lakers, Suns, and Nets, are all looked at as legit top teams and top title contenders in the league, so I don't necessarily know if I'd hold that against them too hard, especially with the fact that they've beaten the league's best team as of right now, the Utah Jazz, as well as the LA Lakers, even if it was without Anthony Davis. So even with the fact that I've talked about how tough and how good this Miami Heat team is, we may not have seen the best of them yet, as they have been involved in many rumors about trading for one or multiple big-name players. They have been the top team, along with the Philadelphia 76ers, named to be in the running for Raptors veteran guard Kyle Lowry. The addition of Lowry could be huge for this Heat team, to say the least, and help their offense. Most recently, according to reporters Kevin O'Connor and Evan Macy, they have been apparently looking to trade for a big man that can help them stretch the floor, as they've been rumored to desire trading for either Nikola Vučević or Karl Anthony Towns. And if they could somehow retain Butler, Hero, and Adebayo while also acquiring one of those players, it would be a huge addition to their team and could greatly help improve their offense, which of course has been the team's biggest flaw thus far this season. And lastly, it feels like we will inevitably see Victor Oladipo become a member of the Miami Heat, as there has been a number of reports saying that they have been the team that Oladipo has been trying so hard to play for, and he recently even turned down a huge contract extension from his current team, the Houston Rockets. So safe to say Oladipo will most likely be playing somewhere else when his contract expires this summer, or maybe even following the trade deadline. And Miami is the location where Oladipo's heart seems to be as of right now. So if the Heat can acquire one of those players, especially without losing Hero, Butler, or Adebayo, they will for sure see a huge improvement to their team as well as their offense, and other teams will need to be on the lookout for this Heat team more than they already are. This Heat team is a legit team this season, and despite their poor start, they've shown that when they have Jimmy Butler, they also have the ability to knock off pretty much any other team in the whole NBA. Jimmy Butler already looks like he should be in the MVP conversation, and if they have the ability to add another great player or even another star player, this team will most likely be able to fix their flaws as well as be even more legitimized as a real 2021 NBA title contender. I want to know though what you guys think about this Heat team, the level of play from Jimmy Butler, their level of play ever since Butler returned, or just anything about this team down below in the comments section. Like mentioned before though, if you like this video, then make sure to give it a like because it helps out a lot. And if you're new to the channel and or enjoy the NBA, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you stay up to date with my newest content. Anyway though guys, I'm SCJ and I am out. Peace.